The evening was quiet over the city. The sky had turned a deep shade of blue, and small stars began to blink above the rooftops. On the top floor of an old building, a woman sat near the edge of a wide terrace, waiting. Her name was Anna. She was 32 years old, and she ran one of the most respected companies in the city. People who worked with her called her sharp, strong, and fearless. But tonight, she felt none of those things. Tonight, she just felt nervous. Anna sat in her wheelchair, her hands resting gently on her lap. She wore a soft pink dress and a light beige jacket, chosen carefully that afternoon. It had been almost 3 years since the accident that changed her life. 3 years since she had learned to move through the world in a different way. She had built her company back up from nothing after that, poured herself into her work, and told herself that was enough. But lately, in the quiet hours after meetings ended and the office lights turned off, she had started to feel lonely. A friend had convinced her to try this blind date. Just once, her friend had said. What do you have to lose? Anna had laughed at the time. Now, waiting on the rooftop, she wondered the same thing. She looked out at the city lights in the distance, glowing gold and white against the darkening sky. She told herself she would stay open-minded. She told herself she would not judge too quickly, and she would not expect too much either. After all, blind dates rarely worked out the way people hoped. Footsteps approached from behind her, slow and steady. Anna turned her head. A man was walking toward her wearing a simple denim jacket over a gray shirt. His hair was dark, slightly messy from the wind. He looked a little unsure of himself, glancing around as if checking he was in the right place. He introduced himself simply. "Dmitri," he said, offering a small, polite smile. "I hope I am not late." Anna smiled back, though inside she felt a small twist of disappointment. She had imagined someone else, somehow. Someone who matched the image she had built in her mind. Someone from a similar world of boardrooms and business deals. Dmitri did not look like that. His hands, she noticed, were rough, with faint marks and small scars, the hands of someone who worked with machines. Later she would learn he ran a small auto repair shop across town, fixing engines and replacing tires, quiet work that most people never noticed until something broke down. They sat together, a plain wooden chair for him, her wheelchair across from him, the city stretching out behind them like a painting. For a while, neither of them spoke much. The silence was not entirely comfortable. Anna asked polite questions, and Dmitri answered them simply, without trying to impress her. She found herself measuring him against a version of success she had built her whole life around, and by that measure, he did not fit. "So," Anna said carefully, trying to keep her tone light, "you fix cars?" "Yes," Dmitri said. "Since I was 17, my father taught me. It's simple work, but I like it. Cars don't lie to you. If something is broken, you can find it, and you can fix it." Anna nodded, though she wasn't sure what to say next. She thought of her office, the endless meetings, the pressure of decisions that affected hundreds of employees. His world seemed so different from hers, so much smaller. She felt the disappointment rise again, quiet but persistent. The sense that this evening, like so many others, would end in nothing. The wind picked up slightly, cool against her skin. Anna wrapped her jacket tighter around her shoulders. Dmitri noticed and stood up without a word, walking to the small bag he had left near the door. He returned with a soft blanket, offering it to her without any fuss. "It gets cold up here at night," he said simply. "I brought this, just in case." Anna took the blanket, surprised. It was such a small thing, but it touched her more than she expected. She placed it over her knees and looked at him properly for the first time that evening, not measuring him against some old idea of who he should be, but simply seeing him as he was. They talked more after that. Slowly the conversation began to soften, the careful politeness melting into something more natural. Anna found herself telling him about her accident, something she rarely spoke about with new people. She told him about the long months in the hospital, the fear she felt when she first understood that her legs would never move the same way again. She told him about learning to use the wheelchair, about the frustration, the anger, and eventually, the quiet acceptance that came much later. Dmitri listened without interrupting. He did not offer sympathy she did not want, and he did not look away uncomfortably the way some people did. He simply listened, nodding sometimes, asking a gentle question here and there. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment before he spoke. You know, he said, I think people believe strength means never falling down. But I think real strength is standing back up even if standing looks different for different people. He paused, glancing at her wheelchair, then back at her face. You built your whole company again after that. That takes more strength than most people ever show in their whole lives. Anna felt something shift inside her chest, a warmth she had not expected. No one had put it quite that way before. She looked at him, this quiet mechanic with rough hands and a plain jacket, and she realized she had misjudged him the moment he arrived. She had been looking for someone who matched her old world, without noticing the quiet steadiness sitting right in front of her. Can I ask you something? Anna said after a while. Of course, Dmitri answered. Why did you agree to this date? I mean, you must have known some things about me before you came. The chair, the company, all of it. Dmitri smiled slightly, looking down at his hands before answering. My cousin told me about you before I came here. She said you were kind and hardworking, and that you probably felt very alone, even surrounded by so many people. He looked up at her again. I did not come here because of your company or your chair. I came because I wanted to meet the person behind all of that. For a moment, Anna could not speak. She had spent 3 years being seen mostly for two things, her success and her disability. People either admired her for one or pitied her for the other. Rarely did someone simply want to know her, plainly and without conditions. The night grew quieter around them. Somewhere below, a car passed slowly through the streets, its lights sweeping briefly across the buildings. Anna looked out at the skyline again, feeling the tightness in her chest begin to loosen. She thought about all the reasons she had almost canceled this date. She thought about how close she had come to missing this moment entirely. Thank you for the blanket, she said softly, and for listening. Thank you for trusting me with your story, Dmitri replied. They sat together a while longer, talking about smaller things now. Easy things. He told her about the different types of cars he had fixed over the years, and she found herself laughing at some of his stories, a real laugh, unguarded and light. She could not remember the last time she had laughed like that on a first date, or perhaps on any date at all. As the evening grew late, Dmitri offered to walk with her back to the elevator, matching his pace easily to the pace of her wheelchair. Careful but not overly cautious, treating her simply as a person he wanted to spend more time with. At the elevator, they paused. I would like to see you again, Dmitri said, his voice steady but a little nervous. If you would like that too. Anna looked at him for a long moment. She thought about her company, her carefully built schedule, the walls she had put up over the last 3 years to protect herself from disappointment. And then she thought about the warmth of the blanket, the honesty in his words, the way he had truly listened to her story without flinching. I would like that, she said finally, smiling in a way that felt unfamiliar but good. Very much. Dmitri smiled back, relief and happiness clear on his face. They exchanged numbers, and as the elevator doors opened, Anna wheeled herself inside, glancing back at him one more time before the doors closed. She caught his eyes just before they slid shut, and something in her chest felt lighter than it had in years. As the elevator moved downward, Anna looked at her reflection in the metal doors. She barely recognized the small smile still lingering on her face. She thought about how she had almost let her expectations blind her to something real, something honest, sitting quietly in front of her the entire evening. She thought about how life sometimes gave people exactly what they needed, dressed in a form they did not expect. Outside, the stars continued to shine over the city, steady and calm, the way they always had, the way they always would. Somewhere above her, on that quiet rooftop, a mechanic named Dmitri stood for a moment longer, looking out at the same skyline, feeling something new and hopeful settle quietly into his heart. And somewhere in that ordinary evening, two people who had almost missed each other found instead the beginning of something real, something built not on appearances or expectations, but on simple kindness, honest words, and the quiet courage to truly see one another.